Good morning, Olathe West. My name is Mr. Flynn, and I will be guiding you through some ACT math prep as we get you ready for the Practice ACT in October. Well, let's get started. First of all, the math section of the test. It is multiple choice. You have 5 answer choices to choose from. There are 60 math questions, and you have 60 minutes to do them in, which means you have about 1 minute a question, right? Now, it's about 1 minute. Some questions take longer than a minute. Some questions take a lot less. But it really comes down to like your pacing. And the pacing is dictated by what was your goal you set a few weeks ago? Was your goal, you know what? I want to try to get a 20 on the math section of the ACT, because all my practice tests from freshman year and sophomore year, I was getting around a 17, 18. I think I could get a 20. Well, if your goal was to get a 20, that means you need to get 30 math questions right, which means, you know what? We don't have 1 minute a question. We now have 2 minutes a question. Double the time on every question. That's not too bad, right? If your goal was to get a 27 on the math section, well, now you need to get a 44 and so on, right? Now, the topics that the ACT covers on the math section are pre-algebra, algebras 1 and 2, geometry, and then some statistics and probability. Now, with all kinds of standardized tests and multiple choice tests, there are lots of techniques you can use to increase your score, right? Some of these are eliminate answers that do not make any sense. This will increase your chance of guessing, right? Instead of having 5 choices to pick from, well, now you only have 4 or maybe 3, okay? Don't leave anything blank. ACT grades all the bubbles you mark. So finish all the questions. They don't penalize you for guessing. And so what a lot of students do is they use a thing called a letter of the day. In other words, okay, if I've got to guess on a question, I'm going to always guess the letter A. It works pretty well. Now, don't guess letter A if you've eliminated it, right? I mean, that goes without saying. The other one is, and this is a math teacher saying this, don't waste your time showing your work. All ACT does is score the bubble. They really don't care to see your work, nor will they look at it, right? They only get the bubble sheets. There's no partial credit on this. It's either correct or not correct. So please don't waste your time showing your work. Instead, what you should be doing is using your calculator and putting the numbers in there, right? Instead of adding 3 to both sides, just add 3 on your calculator. Another really good technique to use is your estimation skills, okay? Particularly because all figures are drawn to scale. If we look at this picture that's over here, this angle in the bottom left-hand corner looks like it's 90 degrees. So guess what? It is 90 degrees. Use that to help you. And if there's no picture provided and they're talking about rectangles or parallelograms, draw the picture and then label if it's given to you, right? Label it if it's given to you. This is going to help you understand the question a lot better. So let's take a look at this first one. Here's a question from the ACT. It's number 23. And we're reading along here, and it tells us what some angles are. And a lot of times on the math question, there's a lot of reading. What I tend to do is I find the question mark and work my way backwards so I know what it is I'm trying to find. We're trying to find this angle right down here, this question mark. So a really good technique is to use the corner of your piece of paper as a right angle. It's a great measurement tool. So what I would do is I would take a corner of my piece of paper and position it right where that angle is I'm looking for. And I'm looking at this going, okay, what is that question mark angle? Well, it's definitely less than 90, but it's also like, 45 degrees would be right here. It's definitely bigger than 45. And so what that does is it lets me get rid of 2 answer choices by just using my estimation skills, okay? So we're going to do that a lot this year using our estimation skills. It's going to help you pick up some questions that you might normally get wrong. All right, well, we're trying to find this angle, right? Well, I do notice that I've got a nice straight line here, right? And this angle divides it in pieces. So if I were to take 180 degrees and subtract out the 145. Now, you would not be writing this on your ACT test question. Instead, you'd be using your calculator, right? 180 minus the 145. And when we subtract those, we end up with, ooh, this looks like 35 degrees is what we wind up with. So this angle right here would be 35. Now, here's what's nice. See how we got rid of that 35 degree angle on our estimation idea? So we're not going to fall for the mistake they're trying to catch us on. Now, this angle here is marked as a right angle. So if I were to take 90 degrees and subtract the 35 from it, well, I would wind up with 55 degrees, which is answer choice C. Okay, the next question is going to be your turn to do it, all right? And then so what your teacher is going to do is when you guys get to this question, you're going to stop. You're all either going to work on this together or individually. Put in your answer, and then I'm going to go through it with you, all right? So now it's your turn as a class or individually. Okay, this one did have a vocab word in it, right? This word bisects. But before that, let's do this drawn to scale idea. Did anyone pull their piece of paper and kind of hold it on the computer screen to see if they could figure out, is it bigger than 90 or less than 90? I mean, this angle here is definitely larger than 45 degrees. So I know I could get rid of that one. And I think it's larger than 50 degrees also. I think I can safely say that's definitely larger than 50 degrees. Well, let's go back and try to figure out what this measurement is now. Now they tell us this word bisect. Bisect means to divide in half. So this ray right here is bisecting this angle into two congruent or equal pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the idea that we've got a nice straight line here, and all those angles together make 180, right? If I subtract the 40 degrees that we already know, and again, I wouldn't be writing this down. I'd be using my calculator, right? 180 minus 40 is 140. And so these two angles right there are equal to 140. So divide by 2 because they're both equal to each other. And we get 70 degrees. So this angle here is 70, and so is this one. Now there's a lot of ways to get to the question mark that we're trying to find. I'm going to use the fact that we've got two vertical angles, right? We've got two angles on opposite sides of an x, and they have to equal each other. So if that angle's 70, well then so is this one. And there we have it. Hopefully you all got that answer also. Okay, another thing on the test is probability, right? We're going to work this one out together. Now, probability, just think about it like this. It's the target value you're looking for divided by how many possibilities there are. Now, in this question, again, we find the question mark and go backwards. And they want to know what's the probability that a marble selected will be an odd numbered red marble. Okay, looks like we got to read a little bit more to see what's going on. Well, let's see, there's 7 marbles. 4 red marbles are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go red 1, red 2, red 3, red 4. And there are 3 black marbles numbered 1, 2, 3. Okay. Well, again, probability is our target over the total. Now, our target we're looking for is an odd numbered red marble. So I think our target's just 2, right? There's only 2 of them that fit that category. And how many total marbles are there? 7. So it should be 2 over 7. All right, so just like before, you're gonna the video is gonna pause. You're all gonna work on the next question together or individually, and then play the video and see if you did it correctly. So here it is, your turn. All right, well, on this question, we're trying to find the probability that the marble is not a black marble. Well, again, my total, right, there are 13 colored marbles. But the target, though, I can't pick the black one, so I've got to be like 3 red, 5 white, and 1 yellow. So 3 red, 5 white, 1 yellow. If I add those up, that's what my target is, right? Those are the ones I want to find. Well, that gives me 9 out of 13. And that would be my choice. Hopefully, that's what you did also. Okay, let's go on to another question. There are some trigonometry questions on the ACT, usually around 5. Now, all you have to remember is this acronym, right? SOHCAHTOA. S stands for, you can see here, S stands for sine, C is cosine, T is tangent. These letters are, it's a big old acronym. O stands for opposite, H stands for the hypotenuse, and so on. So if I gave you a picture like it's down here and I said, what's the sine of angle A? Well, here's angle A, and sine is OH, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. So what's opposite of A? 4. And what's the hypotenuse? 5. That's what the sine of A is. Well, this question's asking for, what's the sine of angle A? Well, here's angle A. So opposite of it is 8. And the hypotenuse is 17. So it would be 8 over 17, choice F. Okay, next question is yours. Okay, again, this one says, what's the sine of angle B? So here's B. Well, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is little b. Hypotenuse is little c. So our answer is this one. Not too bad. Again, if you know the acronym SOHCAHTOA, that'll get you through pretty much a lot. That in your calculator will get you through a lot of the trigonometry questions. Okay, one last question here, and that'll finish us off for today. There are some good old algebra questions to do. So here's a nice example, right? And notice the answer choices are fractions. Well, I think we all know what to do here. We would do distributive property, right? And then once we've done distributive property, I think we might probably maybe put those two x's together, right? And then we probably subtract 2x from both sides. Subtract 16. Now notice we've got a negative 10 for an answer, right? We're going to divide by 6 and get a negative answer. So, I can always think about eliminating bad choices, one of our techniques, right? Divide by 6. And we get negative 10 over 6, which we don't see, but we can reduce that to be negative 5/3, choice A. Okay, your turn to solve an equation. Here you go. All right, well, hopefully you distributed the 2 first, right? And then put together the x and the 2x to make 3x. Add your 24 to both sides. Divide by 3. And we wind up with 16 for an answer, which is choice J. Hopefully that's who you selected also. Well, we're going to do math, throughout the year, as well as English like last week and science and reading. And the goal is that we get better and better and better. So when February rolls around, we do really well. Thank you all very much. And have a great, great homecoming week.